Yeah, I went ahead and got on a little earlier than usual. Oh, a little earlier than I set the time, anyway. I was bored and already had supper and didn't have anything else going on, and wasn't nothing on TV or YouTube to watch at the moment, so that why not go on for a few minutes? See if anybody pops up. Hope everybody's having a good weekend and enjoying their time off of work and time with family. I did most of my running around yesterday evening. I went shopping and all that, and spent $59 at Foodland and couldn't even really tell what I got. Of course, nowadays with the food prices, it don't take much to add up with very little to nothing to really show for it. And today I cleaned up around the house and took the garbage out. Thankfully, where I live at, we use a dumpster to throw away our garbage instead of having to pay for a garbage cans every month or use of garbage cans every month. Because if it was anything like it was when I lived in Fackler, and that was from 2006 to 2010, I was paying like $10 a month for the garbage can and pickup. Now I'm sure in the last 15 years it's went up since then. I wouldn't doubt it. Everything else has. So I'd hate to know what they charge in a month for the garbage can and to pick it up. Now, if our landlord had went that route instead of using the dumpster, the garbage people would be making a killing off of where I live at. Cause I think there's somewhere pretty close to 21 or 22, 22 trailers here. So they'd be making somewhere close to about $220 a month, if math serves me right. But when I was living in Fackler, I was paying $60 every 6 months rather than it being $10 a month. Easier to keep up with. Well, hey to the people that's rode through. How are y'all doing on your Saturday? Hope everybody's doing alright. Been watching some college football. Even though I do live in Alabama, I really didn't watch no Alabama Auburn. I kind of watched a few other games that were going on. Been noticing a lot of teams this year has been shooting the score up to 70 points a game, but when you got these big colleges, that ain't going to take much for the run up the score playing against smaller schools. Hey to the people that said, hey, how are y'all doing this evening? Hope y'all are having a good weekend. Now, even though I'm a big Florida Gators fan, I'm kind of disappointed in how they've been playing this year. Yeah, they're 1-1, but we should have won that game against South Florida. There's no reason why we couldn't have pulled it out and won. But there at the last of it, South Florida pulled it out and won with a last minute touchdown, I believe it was. How are you doing? Hey, gaming and BSKRZ, how are y'all doing this evening? Glad to see y'all here hanging out with us. How's the weather where y'all are at? Down here in Alabama, we're in the middle of a drought, or especially in the corner of the state I live in. It's been close to 2 months since we've seen any significant rain, and the grass is starting to have a crunch to it. And the ponds over by where I live at starting to lose a lot of water. And even though toward the end of August and the 1st of September we had A little bit of a cold spell, but it didn't last very long. And now we're back in the 80s and 90s with the humidity up around 100. So we're back toward our normal hot weather here in the South. And the way the news is talking, it's going to be even warmer next week and the week after that. So I don't see it getting no better before now and then. Hey, Maddox Jackson, how are you doing today? Hope you're doing all right. But that's the one thing I love about living in the South. Even in the fall and winter, it really doesn't get that bad cold. Hey, Ken and Buds, how are you doing today? Hope you're having a good weekend. I'm doing all right, Ronnie. How are you doing? I just been mainly been lazy today. Threw some garbage out and been watching a lot of college football today. That's pretty much been my Saturday. Now tomorrow is going to be the busier of my days, cause I got church in the morning. Plus we're having an eating after church, and then time we get out of there, it'll be about 2 o'clock. And then about 5 o'clock tomorrow evening, we'll be back at the church again. And then Monday, be back to work. And then the Monday night, we have our Addicts for Christ meeting. Oh, I'm sure I will, man. It's just been a slow process of getting there. I'm just taking it one day at a time, and once I'm able to, yeah, I can see 67. And no, I don't like me in that way, Lewis. Thank you, Buzz. But I help out with the Addicts for Christ meeting. Yeah, I can say 67 there fortnight. But I help out with the Addicts for Christ meetings on Monday night. And that's what I'll be doing Monday night. All right there, that's, I guess you can say it 6 and 7, whichever way you want me to say it. Hey, Vanna, how are you doing this evening? I was hoping you'd show back up this weekend. I made sure I didn't go on the same time that Noah or any of the rest of them was going on. I know how he likes to meet him, usually pretty bad about going on the same time. Well, that ain't no good there, man. I don't know what was that some kind of game or something you playing? And hopefully you'll be able to get through it. Right now I'm playing a game on my cell phone. That it's well, hell, I done forgot the name of Age of Origins. It's a one of those zombie games, but in all honesty, if you ever played War Commander on hey buds, but if you ever played War Commander on Facebook, it's pretty much the same thing as it. It's one of those once you clear the zombies out from this part of the city, you're able to build up a command center and a camp around it. Well, there's other players on there you can play against, or you can play a part of a group. But the bad thing about this game is when the zombie part of it really don't play a huge part of it, other than at the beginning when you clear them out of the part of the city. After that, you pretty much join a group, and then you're fighting against other groups and individuals throughout the map that you're on, and you got to collect resources. Every now and again, they'll have a tournament or something come through that you can get resources that you normally couldn't get from anywhere else. And that's about it. Vanna, my username is I'm a huge lover of donuts, and I'm a huge lover of the Predator franchise, and I decided to combine them together. Now I know at first glance seeing that name it's kind of strange. It can make you lean toward one way of thinking it might be something else. But like I say, it's basically just my love for donuts and the Predator franchise. And then when I'm hanging out with one of my friends in Scottsboro, he has unless he sold it since the last time I was down there, he's got a PlayStation 4, and I play a lot of the NBA game he's got for it. Which back when I used to have my own PlayStations and all, I used to play a lot of wrestling and basketball games. But the last one I owned was the PS2, and that was back in 2010 when I got rid of it. And the last games I really played on it was the SmackDown versus Raw. Uh, I played just played the SmackDown versus Raw games for it. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of the PlayStation 5, but I also like Xbox. Mainly because they got the Left 4 Dead games for it. And if you ain't ever played Left 4 Dead, they're pretty fun games. Now, when I used to hang out with this one guy, he was a huge Xbox fan, and this was back in the 2010s. I got to play in a lot of the Call of Duty games. No, I can't say that I will there, but I usually don't venture into I usually pretty much going to stay the same person. Sadists are a little bit too far out there for my taste. Well, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to, talk down on a person for their beliefs and how they do, as long as they're not trying to convert people to their way of thinking. And then, after about 2014, I really didn't play on a game system other than what games I could find on a cell phone to play. There's one I had on a flip phone. If I could actually find it, it was Prison Poker. And each game that you won, you got a piece of the map that you could use to help you escape from the jail. And I don't know, but it just depends on how many people come through and how many questions come through that I can answer. I know my usual suspects that come through that join, like Vanna and Miss Fawn. Well, I know Vanna's here. Miss Fawn hadn't showed up yet. Not unless Vanna's done vanished already. But if I ever got a chance to afford a PlayStation 5, I'll get me one and get the newest basketball and wrestling game for it. I'm glad you're still here, Miss Vanna. And by this time next month, I'll have me a vehicle, so I'll be able to start making better content. I'm getting a 1989 Chevy Blazer S10, and we'll be doing a lot different content other than you seeing me sitting around the house or riding around with a vehicle with somebody else. I'll be able to go where I want. Now, for those who have been following me for a while, I used to do videos when I went out looking for deer and turkey, and I'm going to get back into doing that. Then I'm going to start showing y'all different places throughout the county I live in, plus the counties next to me. Now, when I first got this phone that I'm using, I did show y'all a trip from Scottsboro to Gunnersville that kind of got me in trouble for the music that was playing. But YouTube was nice enough to let me keep the video up, even with the copyright music playing, and said I wasn't going to make no money off the video. But it's not like I'm not monetized, so I'm not making any money off my videos at the moment. I'm still a long way away from that. But then after I get my vehicle, I'm also planning on doing some ghost hunts. But I still do some now, but I have to walk up to the church that I use for ghost hunting until I can get me a vehicle to where I can move to other places I know are haunted. And the only real reason I hadn't uploaded any of the ghost videos is I'm sure a majority of you know there's people out here that put up fake ghost hunting videos where they're using magician string, which is very hard to see, or almost next to impossible to see unless you know what you're looking for. Pre-recorded stuff they can put on a player somewhere, and some of their friends hiding in places to make it seem like something's going on when it's just one of their buddies making noise or doing something. And one of them actually got caught doing that. I think it was last year. It was 2 years ago when this happened. It was two big named fake ghost hunters that had to come out and admit they faked their ghost videos. Because in one video you can see that one's arm closing a cabinet door, and the guy holding the camera turned around too quick and caught his buddy slamming the cabinet door. And some of their diehard supporters tried to come up with the excuse it was a ghost arm, but you could tell it was a person. They were forced to admit and they faked their ghost videos. But yeah, that's the reason I don't upload ghost videos right now, because the fakers make it next to impossible to for people who really do it and don't fake it and everything, catch real evidence to one up because people want to think they're faking it too. And I will have to say, what's the difference between well, other than others, when you go ghost hunting, you can ask any legitimate hunter and they will tell you you're not always going to catch something. You may go a month without ever catching anything, and you could go to places that are known to be haunted. And there are times where you could catch some voices or see a brief apparition or catch something moving on its own. And there is one ghost hunting video I will direct y'all to that look up by Angry Cajun TV. And at this point, I think the video is 6 or 7 years old by now. But type in Angry Cajun TV Union Hill Cemetery, and you'll see me on there. And we caught some solid evidence. And I will stand behind that video as it's 100% legit. None of it was faked. Because you can see everybody in the video, other than his son that's recording the video where we're doing. But there were too many eyes on them too, watching what they're doing. They couldn't fake none of it. But we did catch some voices on there. Then there's a spot close to where I live, maybe 10 minutes from here. It's Matheny's Bridge, but it's also known as Crybaby Bridge. But if you type in Crybaby Bridge, I think there's like 6 or 7 other bridges named that. So you got to be real specific on what you type in. But the legend goes, I don't know how much of this is true. It's all right, Buzz. Be careful out there, and I'll see you in the next video. But at Matheny's Bridge, as the legend goes, I don't know how much of it's true. There was a woman that took her baby. She didn't want the baby. She went to the middle of the bridge and threw it off the bridge. All right, bud, see you later. Threw it off the bridge, and then she became overwhelmed with guilt, and she jumped in herself. And they say if you go there late at night and turn off, I haven't done this, but they say if you go there and you turn off your vehicle and turn it back on, there'll be handprints on the windows all the way around your car. And like I said, I haven't. They say there's times you can hear a baby crying, but like I said, I haven't went to investigate none of this to make sure it's true or not. And they also say the church that's right up the hill from it is also haunted as well, but I don't know if that's true or not. Now, there was a one unknown YouTube channel that goes across different places in the United States doing ghost hunts. I can't remember their name. They're a small YouTube channel. I think they only got a couple of thousand subscribers. But they went to Union Hill Cemetery and caught some voices there. And then went and investigated Matheny's Bridge. And caught a little bit of evidence there, but nothing concrete. But if I can find that video again, I'll put it in the community tab and let y'all watch it and see what y'all think. And well, like I said, I'm hoping by at least this time next year, I can make it to where I'm monetized, and I'll reinvest the money and back into this account or back into my YouTube channel to where y'all can start making better videos. But like I said, once I get that vehicle, y'all start seeing better videos. And if I can convince people to appear in my video, or whether it's the live stream or the regular videos I do, I'll start making content with some other people. But in all honesty, well, that was quick, bud. But in all honesty, of the people I know and what few friends that I have, I think there might be 2 or 3 that would appear. But it's a matter of finding something we can do that really draws people's attention. Then sometime before it starts getting pretty cold in the daytime, planning on going fishing at this pond that's right up the road from where I live. If you're in a vehicle, it's like a 1-minute drive to it. Maybe less than that, depending on traffic, but it's like a 5-minute walk. Or at least at the speed I walk, because I really don't walk that fast. And on top of that, I'd have to find some kind of way to get something to hold my phone up to where y'all can see what's going on, see what I'm catching. Because that pond does have some pretty good sized fish in it. Now, if you're like me, I love eating fish. But right now, we're, unless they have lifted the ban since the last time I paid attention to it, they don't want us eating the fish out of the river, the Tennessee River, where we're at. Because it's been heavily polluted by the electric co-op, where they tried building a station that would generate power for most of, or at least half of Jackson County anyway. And they spent millions of dollars on it, now if not billions. I think TVA started building on it in the late 70s, early 80s. They got it all the way completed and never reopened. It never opened. It never got it going. And so now you have this $1 billion place that has these two radioactive towers sitting there, or power plant sitting there that's slowly polluting the river to the point you can't eat no fish out of it, and it's going to waste. Now, over the last couple of decades since it was shut down, they have tried putting money into it to reopen it and getting it to going. But for whatever reason, they'd make it 6 months to a year each time they tried, and shot the program back down again. And for whatever reason, I can't remember what the excuses were, but that really hurt the economy, not only for Scottsboro, but Jackson County as a whole, and really stunted the growth of the county and become bigger than what it could be. But I do know that they use it as a training center, and at least Monday through Friday, I know there's people there along with security guards doing whatever. All right, bud. I understand. But I do know they got people there doing stuff. I'm assuming either training, exercising, or just keeping an eye on it. And they got security there, which I'll admit there's two different ways to get into the place. There's the main gate, and then there's a back gate about 10 minutes from the front entrance. Now, normally they have these gates closed and locked down, and the only way to get in is if you work there or you have special permission to get in there. And like I said, they normally have these gates closed up and locked up, which I understand. You don't want somebody getting in there doing something stupid, and then you have another Chernobyl event going on. But me, my dad, and my dad's friend, well, he's a close family friend. We was going out looking for deer and turkey. Well, we went over toward the back entrance. It has a little boat dock over there before you get to the gate. And it's one of those boat docks boat ramps that's been there for a better part of 70 years. It's not concreted in, it's just dirt leading into it. But we went over to there, and my dad's friend noticed the gate was open. Yeah, I'm all right, buds. I pretty much got one of those cough or smoker's cough because I do smoke cigarettes, which I went from smoking 2 packs a day to half a pack. I do need to give it up though. But my dad's friend, he's retired from the military. Hey, I did think he did 2 or 3 tours in Vietnam. But anyway, he noticed it was open and he wanted to go through it. Well, me and my dad kept telling him, hey, it's against the law to go through it. Because if you get caught in there, and if you get caught in there trespassing, it's a pretty heavy fine and the possibility of spending years in prison. We kept trying to tell him we didn't need to go through there. There's no way in the world we'd be able to pay for the fine. Between the 3 of us, we wouldn't even come close to paying for whatever the fine was. But he wanted to go through. He said, well, I would just go up until we see the building and turn around. Well, it went from seeing the building till we drove all the way through it, went out the front gate. Well, security called up to us right after we turned onto that main road in front of the access road to the towers there, and they followed us for a good long while. I'm sure they took the I'm sure they wrote the license plate down, and I'm sure they had his name because I'm sure it popped up of him owner the vehicle. For whatever reason, they didn't pull us over, and I'm thankful for that. Because, like I said, that would have been some serious prison time and a serious fine that none of us could pay. But, like I said, for a while, we must have called them on a good day. Because once we got pretty close to the Scottsboro city limits, they stopped and turned around. I guess they figured we wasn't a threat or whatever, and but I guarantee if we'd went back through there again, that we would have got pulled over. But me and my dad, we didn't yell at him. We just kind of gave him a pretty good talk to him. You know, we don't need to be doing stuff like that. Because I was like, unless you had the money to pay all three of our fine from that and a good lawyer to keep us out of prison, it was best if we just stayed off of there. Because ever since 9/11 happened, security around power plants has been pretty tight, which I understand. And then, my dad's friend also had a bad habit of wanting to venture onto other people's properties, knowing full and hell well that we could get in a lot of trouble for that. And if you know anybody in Alabama, they'd rather shoot first, ask questions later. But of all the properties we've been on, we only ever got called on one. And you could tell the guy wasn't happy. But he told us just to get off his property and make sure we never come on it again. So he was nice enough to let us have a free pass, but I'm sure if we showed up again, it wouldn't have gone that same route. And the only other, then there was this one property we went on. It was on a road that wasn't really traveled a whole lot unless you lived back there. And there was 2, 3, 4 houses or 5 houses that lived on that road, and they were spaced pretty far out from each other. We took this. He noticed the gate up. He wanted to go look. Even though me and my dad protested. Went pretty good ways back there and back out. Luckily, we didn't get caught. Unless the guy had cameras. And if he did, he never threw a fit about it, or guess he wanted to sit around and see if we'd ever come back on there, but we never did. And the third property we went on was on, now I'm highly against going onto somebody's property without permission. You just had to understand how my dad's friend was. But you couldn't tell him nothing. But on the way to Skyline, there's there's multiple ways to get to Skyline. There's like 4 different ways to get up there. But the main route we took was the old main way until they built the newer way to get on there. But halfway up, there's this guy that owns the property. Well, him and another family owned the property up and down that mountain. And he had a hunting cabin over there that For the longest, you seen him out there during hunting season. Him and some of his friends, but last year, for some reason, he never showed up. And we kept an eye on it every time we went by, and kept our eye on the log that he used to block the road. And nobody ever showed up. Nobody moved the log. Nothing was disturbed. So he had my dad park at the start of the property. Me and my dad stayed in the Jeep because neither one of us was going to risk getting caught on somebody else's property, but my dad's friend didn't care. I figure we probably would have got at least in a little bit of trouble for sitting there letting him walk around, but nothing like he would have been in for being on the property. But my dad's on probation, so if he got in trouble again, right back to prison he went. I can understand why he didn't want to be on there, and I wasn't really looking forward to getting in trouble and being in jail. But luckily, that part of the Rupp Mountain we was on going up the back way wasn't really heavily traveled and everything, so we made it out of it all right. It's see what time is it here? It's 7:19 here. I'll probably go for another couple of minutes and I'll be done. What time is it where you live at there, Buzz? It's still well, it ain't fully dark here yet. As you can see through the window, there's still some light out. Uh, at one point it was at the middle of summer. It used to be 8:05 when it got dark here, and now it's a little after 7. I live in the United States too, there, Buzz. I live in Alabama. I just ain't gonna tell you what part. 8 o'clock where you're at, and it's you're about an hour ahead of me. And I know Miss Vanna that's in here with us. She lives in Georgia, not very far from the Alabama state line. I live in Alabama, but I'm just not going to tell you what part of Alabama. How is old Pete's doing there, Miss Vanna? Yeah, I got the notification that he was on, so I won't be on here too much longer, so that way y'all can go enjoy his live stream. And Buzz, that's pretty cool. You don't live too far from where one of my other subscribers lives. She lives in Indiana. Yeah, Vanna, he was stupid on quitting his job. He had him if you remember, he had him a real good job. And then when he got that inheritance from his dad, I believe it was, he would stupidly quit his job. Now, if this was me, and I can only speak for me, I know everybody's different on this. If I was getting a $15,000 inheritance, or at least I believe that's how much it was he got, I would, if I had any debt, I'd pay on it. I'd get me in a vehicle. I'd get me a vehicle if I didn't have one, and then put the rest in the bank. And I'd keep my job, and then just keep adding money to it. Each time I got a paycheck in. That's good, Buzz. Ohio's a beautiful place. I ain't never been there. Well, I can understand taking a break, but he should have known better. If he wanted a break, should have went on a vacation and kept the job. But hopefully he likes the job he's got or getting interviewed for now. That's like me. I just don't see myself doing anything else other than what I do. Now, I'm a janitor at Walmart for the last 25 years. Because on July 11th, I celebrated my 25 years at Walmart and turned 41. Now, being a janitor isn't a glamorous. You know, you clean up some stuff that you would much rather not see. Yeah, Miss Fanny, I didn't think I was going to be there for that long. I got hired in the day I turned 16. My plan was just to work there until I graduated high school. And if I'd went to college, I would have stayed on till after I graduated college. But one thing led to another, and that thing I know is 25 years later. Now, being a janitor, it's not hard work, but it's not exactly easy work. You will catch a lot of hell from customers and people you work with. It wasn't all that. I'm 41, but yeah, man, it wasn't all that bad. It kind of made the last 2 years of me being in high school kind of fly by. But in all honesty, and this is kind of sad, I was one of a very few kids at the high school I went to between 16 and 18 that had a job. Between 10th grade and 12th grade, you could count on one hand how many of us had a job. And that's because at least 95% of the people or the kids that went to school there came from rich families, or their families were well off that they didn't have to worry about anything. You ain't all that old, bud. You're still pretty young. But yeah, where I went to school at least 95% of the kids that went there came from a rich family, or their families were well off and they didn't have to worry about having to work. So that left us the other 5% was pretty much out there working, and I bought my very first vehicle. Like everybody else, my parents didn't buy mine. I had to buy my own. Or I should say my grandparents. I was raised by my grandparents. But yeah, being a janitor is not that bad. And believe it or not, I know women like to say they're cleaner than men. But I want to tell you right here and right now that the women's bathroom stayed dirtier than the men's bathroom and got dirtier quicker. But anyway, I guess I'm going to get off here and take my medicine and get ready for church tomorrow. I'll probably do another live stream on Tuesday, but y'all get another video before then. Y'all have a good rest of y'all's weekend, and I'll see y'all in the next video.